I was walking with my dog today when I noticed that the bridge that connects our village with the real land is not there anymore. Well, it hasn't vanished completely. It's just that about 50 meters of the bridge aren't there. It looks like someone took a crane and pulled a segment between the two poles out and took it away. And we know where it is because the crane is still there and the bridge segment as well. But we can't reach it. I will explain why this is bad. The village I live in is between a river and Germany. That may sound weird, but it isn't. There is a big river, about 100 meters wide, and a smaller river separating from the bigger one, just about 50 meters wide. That's where the bridge was. It's the only thing that connects us to the land and to the nearest cities. Our village again is split into a southern and northern part, with a small river in between. The bridge over this one is removed as well, so I can't go to the northern part. Since I am one of the people standing up early, I was the second one to notice. My neighbor was standing there looking at the once was a bridge. He's from Finland and used to swim in the cold water there, and he continued this. And while he went for his morning swim in the river, he noticed the crane sticking out of the early fog like a fork rammed into a stake. We got to his house and drank some tea whilst talking about the bridge. "Perhaps they are doing unscheduled renovations?" he said. We debunked this theory quickly. Because why would they separate the different parts of the village as well? So, we then decided to call the local police to find out what has happened. Nobody answered. We tried to call some relatives. First we called mine, then his. Nobody answered. Again. Literally, everything that we hear is static. It seems like the phone line broke down completely. Cell phones can't pick up any signal, which is weird because the tower is right in the northern district of the village. So, we went, and we had the luck that one of the inhabitants here hosts a registered amateur radio station. That's a thing they can't disable, as it seems, because we got a connection to his radio friend. He is the one posting this, actually, since internet doesn't work here obviously. I gave him my password so he can keep you guys updated. Right now, it's the evening, and the whole village noticed the bridge not standing anymore. What's also weird is that the fog hasn't lifted yet. Usually it would lift about noon, but it's still as thick as before. Strange is also that some of the people here noticed the Bundeswehr, the German army, patrolling the river's edges. We shouted at them, but they didn't answer. One even fired his gun at the house next to us. 3 bullets. I was lucky I was shopping for groceries just 2 days ago. Food won't be a problem for me. With the bridge now being vanished, we can't go out to buy some more. We're suspicious as to why the bridge was removed and why the Bundeswehr is there shooting at us, because we have literally no idea why they would even be here. We took a boat and got to the northern part of the town, and we got back just an hour ago. The northern part is where the village council sits. The village council is, let's say, a very small parliament consisting of 7 people. My father, my grandmother, the neighbor from Finland, the local baker, the village mechanic, a farmer having his own island, and myself. That's somewhat special and is an artifact from 200 years ago when there were settlers trying to plant crops here. The village council wasn't able to contact anyone else as well, and then sort of took the lead. The village council will meet tomorrow to plan the next steps to take. For now, we are advised to share our food with people not having any. I don't have a problem with that, since I have a lot of canned food. I'm not scared of running out of water as well. When boiled, the water from the river is clean enough for us all to drink. What is scaring me is something else. The radio guy listened to the Bundeswehr radio. We heard the lieutenant shout something at his men, and they answered. We heard what the lieutenant said, and that is what is scaring me. I will give you guys updates about the situation as often as I can. We also take any advice we can get, so feel free to give us tips. My friend sends them to us. Listen to what the lieutenant shouted at these men.
It can't be allowed to escape. Under no circumstances are you allowed to let it escape. But why? What is it? No matter what happens, it must be kept in that village. Do you understand? Yes, sir. Understood. We won't let it break free.
I'm scared. Help. They fired. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. The Bundeswehr fired at us. Fuck. They used a tank to shoot at the house at the edge of our village where no one lives in. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to understand why the army would fire at our village using tanks. So bear with me when it sounds strange. Our situation has gotten worse. First of all, the power is gone as well. We assume they cut the underwater cable supplying the village with electricity, probably to shut down our radio station. What they didn't consider, at least I hope, is that the farmer has a large array of solar panels on his barn, and I have a smaller one as well. They aren't enough to keep the whole village powered, especially in the night, but we can still use our radio, watch TV for the news, and do other electric stuff. We moved the radio into the barn as well. The Dorfrat had an emergency meeting in the church this morning because of the shot that was fired. We sat there for a while and planned a strategy for the village. The first thing we did was, we checked the Bundeswehr out. Christoph is a fisherman in the village and has always loved the stars. We used this telescope to count what the Bundeswehr has brought here as the fog lifted a bit. And this is the result. 11 Puma tanks, the newest generation of tanks the army has. One of them fired a shot last night. 3 Marder, older tanks good for short distances. 1 Fennec, a spy tank. And 2 Fuchs, cargo vehicles that can be counted as tanks as well. The amount of tents we counted are enough for about 300 soldiers. I mentioned the fog above. It's still there. It was not as dense as yesterday when we counted the tanks. But it has gotten denser now, and we can smell something smelling sharp. We don't know what it is yet, but we will find out. We brought all the food in the village to the farmer's barn, which we now call Hauptkwartier, since it's the headquarters there. The Dorfrat sits there. It generates and stores power, and the radio is there as well. I'm not stupid, however, so I kept canned food and water, enough for 3 weeks, at my house and hid it. The farmer has a lot of vegetables here, and we planted some on his field. I don't think that will work though. It's winter season here. The gas we have is stored in the headquarters as well, but we consider to put it somewhere else. If it blows up, power and communications are gone. We empty the gas tanks of all cars in the village, since we don't need the cars now, and use it to power our boats, a diesel generator, and we made some Molotov cocktails as well. Not that many, however. With the weapons we have, we formed a small group of guards for the village. Only 10 or 11 men. The mechanic welded some weapons together which they use. The guards watch the village in the night in case the Bundeswehr fires again. We consider the first one as a warning shot. We also monitor the time the Bundeswehr uses the radio. When they don't use it, we send our messages. That's mostly in the night. Someone even got creative and proposed to use the Iridium satellites for text messages exchange. It's our backup way of communication. The Dorfrat also decided that on this night, when everyone sleeps, the guards will take some gas masks if they find any, get a boat, and drive the river up north to see if there is something. Then they go south for the same reason. We can't do it at daytime, because Christoph went fishing for food, and after some minutes, a Bundeswehr soldier saw him. He ran away and came back with 3 others, one of them shouting at Christoph to get the fuck away from the waters. Christoph shouted back that he was just fishing and they should calm down. The shouting went on for a while, and when Christoph pulled the middle finger move at the Bundeswehr soldiers, one of them flipped and emptied an entire magazine of bullets at him. I think it was 28 bullets. Now, Christoph has a quick reaction and ducked as soon as the soldier pulled his gun. He got hit. The bullet hit his right elbow. Just a few nanoseconds later, the bullet would have missed. Christoph can't use his right arm now. The farmer's wife treats him until he gets better. Now, that's the overall situation. We burn trees to stay warm. Water is still running. The fog smells weird, and we can't communicate with the outside world properly. Let's go to the other things that I experienced. My dog is usually lazy. Since the blockade here started and the bridge is gone, she is way more active than before. Whenever she can, she runs down to the rivers, smells the water, and then barks at it. It even happened the night before the house was shut down. She ran around in the house barking. I opened the door and she ran down to the river to bark at the water, as if the water was made of cats. My dog hates cats. I don't know why she does that. But it's maybe because of the weird entity the Bundeswehr spoke about. It's now evening, and I will keep you guys updated. I have some theories as to what it is, but before I post them, I need to think them through. We will examine all the books in the local library to find clues as to why this happened. I hope Christoph gets well soon. It's there. It can't be allowed to escape. Under no circumstances. Okay, this morning, we found a corpse, once again while walking with my dog. It is now day 5 since the bridge has been removed. I can say for sure that it was a corpse, but I can't say with certainty that it was human once, because it was just a mass of flesh, blood and bones. I went near to find out what that was, and then threw up. Imagine taking a person and then putting it in a blender, running on maximum power, and then taking the remains and stick some of them together with glue, only to blend it again. This should be an accurate description of why I vomited when I saw it. We only found out that it was the man from Finland, because he didn't show up in the Dorfrat meeting this day. We are now certain that something is in the water. Or, even scarier, the water is the entity that the Bundeswehr wants to contain in our village. First things first, I should update you guys about the situation. The expedition with the boats went, let's say, half successful. 4 of the guards took a boat and drove the river up south to find out if they could pass the fog, which, by the way, hasn't lifted yet. We don't have gas masks here, so we took some diving suits with air tanks. But soon, the fog somehow took effect. They were becoming more nervous with every meter they drove into the fog, and when someone was about to rip off their mask, they turned around, then got up north. The fog is there as well, but not as dense, and that's probably why they got seen by a Bundeswehr ship laying there. One of the guys got nervous again and threw one of the Molotovs we made on the ship's deck, and they turned around and drove back while the captain ordered the soldiers on board to fire at our boat. Every shot missed, luckily. They escaped and are now back, and as it seems, we can't really escape from here now. And so we started filling up tanks with water in case they decided to poison it, and rationed our food. The fog is getting a bit denser. I don't know how to describe the smell. It's sort of sharp, like 1,000 tiny needles stinging your nose from inside, and a bit of a mix between mud and flower-scented hospital sanitizer. Not the best description, I think, but you get the idea. The smell gets more noticeable the more you go towards the water. And now, we go to the scary things. First of all, what was it that killed the swimmer? How does it look and what does it do? We suspect a creature living in the water that somehow now roams around. I suspect it to be only active at night. And that's why we gathered every camera we could find and installed them. 4 on the cell tower in the northern part, 2 on the control tower for the farmer's solar cells, 3 on the old radio tower for my friend. He has moved his entire radio equipment to the headquarters and uses the solar cell's control tower for the antenna now, in case the Bundeswehr decides to take out his house. Then, we installed about 10 cameras all around the village on fences, poles, lamps, and everything we could find. They are set to record the night for 6 hours. If we catch the thing on tape, it would be nice. We even think of transmitting the video to the radio guy's friend somehow to post it online or something to raise attention. By the way, radio guy's friend looked up our village on the internet. It doesn't exist anymore. The Wikipedia page of our community doesn't feature our village's name anymore. Google Maps gets results for restaurants in Singapore, but not our village. Their website wiped it out as well. It's like someone took a big eraser and wiped it across the internet and maps. The community office's tourist maps also don't show our village anymore. We know that because the radio guy's friend got there and took one saying he got lost or something. Did I mention his name yet? Radio guy's name is Helmut. I won't say our friend's name, however. That might get him into trouble with the government. I'm sure they'll find something to shut his radio down if we do. Also, transmission of our messages has become more dangerous. We often hear cracks and noises now while talking over the radio, and I personally think there are people listening to us in our situation. But they aren't talking. Maybe they fear they're going to jail or something for that, or that the Bundeswehr will get them and then silence them. I don't think it's the army. We would have been dead by now if it was. You might notice that, if you are from Germany, it is pretty late right now. That's because the Bundeswehr has a set radio schedule, as we found out, and we only ever turn on the radio when theirs is off, in the time from midnight to 5 o'clock in the morning. About the thing. I indeed think it's not the water itself, but it's something in the water. Something no one except the government knows about. Right now, we have a house destroyed by a tank, and a really messy corpse of the swimmer. The situation could be better, but considering we have been blocked for 5 days already, it's pretty good. And we have a plan. We want to go up on the cell tower, hook one of the antennas up with our radio station, and send a really powerful signal around to alert people. Maybe we can even get it to send the pre-programmed emergency message to people's phones. It's desperate, I know, but maybe it works. If not, we fucked up. The Bundeswehr will erase our village, sooner or later. Either that message will help us, or the Bundeswehr will kill us all. And if the Bundeswehr doesn't, the thing does. Wish us luck, guys. I'm back with exciting news. We had the cameras running for the last few days, and as we investigated this night's footage, we caught the thing on tape. So, now off to the news for you. We had a funeral for the man 2 days ago. Father Bort held a nice speech about how our village has to stay together, even when hope is lost. Almost all of the villagers had tears in their eyes. I'm not a crybaby usually, but I had 1 or 2 tears as well. So, now for the thing. We had caught it on 2 cameras, one hanging from the old cell tower, and one sitting on top of a fence post. It came out of the water, ran around in the village, and, as it couldn't find any humans, it got to the farmer and stole half of his geese, and he has a lot of them. The monster, I think we can call it monster, is about the size of a smaller car. The head is big, and the body is getting smaller until it ends in a fish-like tail at his back. What's scary about it is the mouth. It is extremely big. And, to stay with the car example, as big as the front glass, full of teeth, pointy teeth. Trust me, you would not like to get eaten by it. As we sighted it on the video, the mechanic said, "Hey, that reminds me of something." And then we started guessing where he has seen it before. "A magazine for paranormal," I said. "A B-class horror movie," someone else proposed. "A furry picture site," the farmer's son said. Everyone erupted in laughter. "No," said the mechanic. "I saw it somewhere else." We got on to other points on the list. The dwarf rat is now sort of the government for our village, so we have to give out the food and water. While we were mumbling about who gets more food than who, the mechanic blurted out, "Village Chronicle! I saw this thing in the Village Chronicle. It was here a century ago." We were puzzled. No one else knew of that, because it's rare that someone ever actually reads the village's chronicle. We split up. Me and the mechanic got to the library, and the rest did their tasks. On the way, we were spotted by 2 Bundeswehr soldiers patrolling the river. They pointed their guns at us, but they didn't shoot. Luckily. It was locked as we arrived, so we simply kicked against the glass door until it shattered. My foot hurts now, but at least we were in. We searched for a bit, found the chronicle, and soon after, the page the mechanic meant. And he was right. The monster was there a century ago, reported as a punishment of Satan there. We found out what happened. Basically, almost the same. In 1920, the Republic of Weimar sent a few soldiers at the village as the monster awoke. But not enough. A few days after that, it escaped from the village to the French border. The Republic told the French government about it, and they killed it there, used acid to dissolve the body and then burnt it. The incident was covered up. Half of the village was executed, and the papers reporting it were labeled as top secret. We were shocked to read that. Our village is involved in the dark side of our government. The site where civilians are shot and villages are locked up. If I ever escape from here, I will go to Finland. The man told me how nice it was there before he was killed by the monster. Although, escape seems impossible, to be honest. Let's continue. Me and the mechanic grabbed all the books and newspaper from 1920 that we could find. We took them back to my house, and I started reading them. And this morning, I found out why they keep us locked up instead of evacuating us. The monster needs humans to reproduce. The monster has a lifespan of about 100 years, we assume. When it gets old, it comes out of the water and searches for humans. They have to have some features that the monster needs for reproduction, like the right blood type. If a human has the right characteristics, the monster will search for it and infect the human. About 4 or 5 days later, the human dies from exhaustion, but the body gets taken over by the little monster growing in it. When it decomposes finally, the monster breaks free and escapes into the water. If the human does not have the right characteristics to house a baby monster, it is immediately killed by the monster. It will continue this until every human available is either infected or killed to ensure a maximum of reproduction. This is what I read. It was the diary from someone from a century ago. I also read about how to kill baby monsters that already escaped their human body, and about how we could protect ourselves from the monster. Apparently, bright light is its weakness. It's only active in the night. Maybe that's why. As I read this aloud in front of the dwarf rat this morning, everyone gasped. "Is this true? Oh my god!" And "Fuck!" they shouted. As I told them that it was true, realization hit me like a football in the back of the head. The government doesn't evacuate us because they're afraid that the monsters already infected us. And if not, they make sure that the big monster can't escape, so all they have to do is wait. The monster will slowly but steadily infect or kill everyone here. The mechanic, my father, my dog, and the Bundeswehr just watches. When it's all over, they simply drive away and wait another century, when the monsters start to reproduce again. It's shocking to know that, and I wanted to share it with you as early as possible. The Bundeswehr should be eating right now, so we're sending this to you this morning, We are thinking of going to the public with the Village Chronicle to raise attention and to uncover it. We could let the government tremble with it, and Germany falls in anarchy if we do. Truth is, I just don't want to die like that. I don't want to die because a water monster eats me from the inside. But, as Father Bort said in his speech, we have to stay together, even if hope is lost. If I die, then I die heroic. Okay guys, I'm back. The last days were a bit of a mess here because of different reasons. I don't have much time, so stay with me. We suspect a mole in our village. 2 days after we found out what the monster looked like, someone set the barn on fire. I mean the one where we stored the radio and food. It was night, and I was woken by the smell of burning flesh and screams. I saw red lights flickering on the sky, and smoke rising up even though the fog is still dense. So, I jumped out of the bed and ran. While I was running, I heard something sounding like an explosion. As I arrived, about a quarter of the barn was on fire. About 20 people were standing around it, trying to extinguish the fire with water and blankets. I stood still, and part of the roof collapsed with a creak sound, spitting flames everywhere. I ran down the small hill to get there, and I met some of the dwarf rat. "Get more guys here, we need to save the food," I shouted at them. 2 ran away, trying to fetch people to help. The now 19th of us climbed to the part of the barn that wasn't burning. And as we got inside, we saw the whole inferno. A diesel tank for the generators seemed to leak, and its highly flammable contents were spilled on the floor and over the food. The fire had burned down most of the wooden roof and walls, and was now tackling the cardboard boxes with some water and food stored in. On the floor, there was a mess of fallen down shattered solar panels, melted plastic containers and diesel. "If the fire reaches the diesel containers, we're all fucked. They're going to explode," someone shouted. "Get the food out of here, quickly. I'll take the radio station," I said, and bolted over to it. We had it put next to the solar battery for power reasons, so it was still unharmed. As I got out, 5 or 6 other guys came running over to the barn. Herman saw me and shouted, "Follow me!" Me and 2 other guys carrying food did that, away from the burning barn we got, and then we put it all down 50 meters away from the intense fire. We ran back, Herman with us, and used the same windows as before to get in. Frank, a friend of mine, took the lead. Just as we started to fight against the heat to get to the food again, we heard a creaking sound above us. "Frank, watch out!" The burning wooden roof couldn't hold the weight of the 2 solar panels above it. It broke down, and the panels seemed to fly in thin air for a moment. Then, they came down, first slowly, but faster and faster they sunk into the burning hell. And they hit Frank. They just crushed in his skull. Frank hadn't had the time to even look up to the panels as we shouted, "Watch out!" He just sort of turned around, and then the panel impaled his head. "Frank, no!" I stumbled over, in the hopes of getting him out of there, in the hopes of saving him. But I knew the flames of the now burning and shattering solar panels would be impossible to get past. So all I did was stand there, looking at him in his face. And just for a split second, when the flames allowed it, I thought I saw him smile at us. I don't really know what happened after that. I was just sort of zoned out. I remember carrying out boxes. I remember the whole roof collapsing under its own weight after the walls burned down. I remember people jumping out the windows. And I remember people not making it and getting caught under the burning roof. I remember the explosion of the diesel container as the collapsing and burning roof hit it. It was a big fireball. Parts of the roof flew around, leaving trails of smoke in the air. I remember rain setting in. Then, I blacked out. I woke up, laying in the wet grass to Herman slapping my face gently. "Hey, I thought you were dead." What happened, man? I got up, disoriented, and looked at the barn. The few bits of wall still standing looked like a black burnt skeleton. A mess of wood, metal and glass was in the middle. A big hunk of metal was laying inside a small crater. I figured that was the diesel container. Everything was releasing plumes of smoke in the air, mixing with the fog. You there? Herman asked again. I shook my head and asked what had happened while I blacked out. Herman told me that the rain extinguished the fire almost completely, and after most of the barn cooled down, they wanted to climb inside to see if some food survived, and found me laying there while walking over. That was about 2 weeks ago. They found a few cans of food that went unharmed. But that was it. We're short on food now. We can still drink the water from the river, but as we can only give food to the whole village for about 2 weeks before our storage is depleted. 3 lost their lives in the fire. A kid from one of the farmers living here burned up after the roof collapsed. His father committed suicide after that to see us on again. So actually, 4 left us. The woman from the library lost her life while trying to save a few canisters of diesel for the generator. One of them was burning already when she picked it up, and it blew up in her hands. The 3rd victim was Frank, my friend. With a population of 71 people in the entire village, we are now at 64. If you're good at maths, you might see that 2 more people are missing. That's because we think either the Bundeswehr or the monster got him. The Bundeswehr is very aggressive now, shooting at everything they see. The monster bumps against houses in the night, but can't get in. Yet. I'm scared because of the mole in our village. The fire in the barn was started by forcefully opening the valves of the diesel container and setting it on fire. Almost all of the food cans we saved have diesel over them, and that can't be done by the container simply leaking. Someone must have spilled a whole canister of diesel on them. But who is that someone? No one knows. But we read about it. Before the infected human dies, a change of behavior is often able to be seen as he starts being controlled by the monster growing in his body. It gets worse. Everything gets worse. We're totally fucked. Remember the fire 13 days ago? We managed to rescue some of the food and the radio. We counted. We almost lost our entire food supply and half of our clean water, as well as a great amount of electricity due to most of the solar panels being melted in the fire. The food that is left is barely enough for 2 weeks. And at the time you're seeing this message, we'll be running out of cans tomorrow. I think it was a good thing to put some food of mine away to eat. Now, let me tell you the aftermath of the fire. And bear with me, because it's going to be longer. After the fire, as I said, 4 people left us, and we had a population of 64 people including me. We're now at 29. Yes. And most of that happened because the Bundeswehr invaded our village after seeing the barn burn down. They went everywhere, knocking on doors, shooting down people that wasn't in safety when they came. They were, I think, 200 men. I hid in the attic of my house, had my dog with me and some food. They searched my entire house and shot some food cans I left standing in the kitchen. It was horrible. We found some corpses laying in the middle of the village. Some just killed with a clean headshot. Some barely recognizable because they were being punched to death. We also have a lot of people being sick and acting weird. We locked them up in the remains of the farm because we suspect they are already infected. We only come near them to give them food and water. But it is super weird to know that they will die for sure. That brings us down to exactly 20 people that can actively fight back the monsters and the Bundeswehr. While we're at it, we captured even more footage of the monster. And we call it fish. Yeah, that means fish. Translating that one wasn't too difficult. The name comes from its appearance. It's pretty colorful, colors ranging from a dark blue to lime green and grey. It has legs, only 2, but they seem to have extremely sharp claws because a camera video showed it literally cutting through thin wood fences. Not like a saw, but like a sharp knife. A knife I would not want to come in contact with. The fish sits in the dark corners of our village, whether if it's day or night, and tries to attack you. It even got difficult to relay messages to you, since I had to bring them to the radio station first. I feel like you guys should be updated though, so I'm taking that risk. My dog is a great helper. She knows how the fish smells, and whenever she barks or growls at any dark corner or alley, I try to go around it as far away as possible. But we all know we don't stand a chance against the monster with our food running out, water running out on an island guarded by the German army. A few people committed suicide already before the Bundeswehr attacked. They couldn't carry the pressure of the situation we have, and drowned themselves, hung themselves up on street lamps, or just used the old-fashioned gun way. Interestingly, half of the dwarf rat that still exists tries to hold the village together somehow, dividing the precious food and water, and organizing firewood since it's winter. I am not attending the dwarf rat anymore. It's pointless, I think. Well, actually, cut that. I think most of what the dwarf rat does is pointless. But they're going to try to organize a very big action that I'll join in. More on that later. Right now, to give you a layout of the situation, about half of the village is completely burned down. If you remember from my first post, my village is divided on 2 different islands, main and second island, that were connected by bridges until the Bundeswehr decided to take them down. The second island was the place of the dwarf rat, the library, and the farmer's barn that burned down. Originally, it was just a barn, but the Bundeswehr set fire to the other houses as well. The library burned down too, destroying our only base of knowledge here. The diary from the old man from 100 years ago that described how the fish axe burned down within it. I do think it is super lucky that not every house is burned down. 2 are still standing. The first one is the house with the radio station. The second one holds the food now. They probably thought they were empty. I don't want to imagine what would have happened if they just decided to take a quick peek through the windows. Disgusting. All the plans we had originally, like abusing a strong antenna from the village's cell phone tower to alert other people, can't be done without any form of electricity. But we still want to try them out. We are gathering all of the fireworks in our village that we have, and clothing in the brightest colors. Then, we gather balloons and a lot of helium. You can probably guess where this is going. We will launch balloons filled with helium from the tower, equipped with pieces of cloth in super bright colors and some messages to the outer world. And we will launch our fireworks before we start the big plan. And the big plan is truly big. Let me tell you about it. Now, the trust in our village is massively sinking. Everyone thinks the other is infected by that fish. The fox seem not to do any form of harm to us, except for blurring our vision to the outside world. Here comes the action of the dwarf rat. We will try to fight back, and we are planning to raid the Bundeswehr base in the next few days. The dwarf rat developed a strategy, organized weapons, food and water, and the people. There is a chance we could win with our 20 against 300 people. It's small, but we'll have to take it. I have to stay positive in what is probably the last days of my life. Here we go. Regarding the case of Oberfeld, Germany, European Union Intelligence Analysis Service, Federal Intelligence Service of Germany, Military Intelligence Service, Federal Office of Protection of the Constitution, European Police Department, Content 1. Case Overview. 25th of September, 2019. MAD agents were dispatched to the village of Oberfeld. The spies were ordered to observe 2 times and to take water testings once per week. Water readings of 18th and another test of 19th November 2019 has shown the presence of the beast in the river. Government was immediately informed about suspicions, and procedures to deal with the situation were developed. It should be said here that, if that beast ever escapes, the whole continent of Europe is in extreme danger. MAD and the government of Germany informed European Union Intelligence Analysis Service, Federal Intelligence Service of Germany, and Federal Police for Protection of the Constitution on the 22nd of November. In an emergency meeting held on the evening of 22nd, they decided that the best option was to completely cut off all communications and logistics in and out of Oberfeld, as well as to shield any unwanted sightings or communication by light signals. To do that, the nearest army division, approximately 350 men, was informed about the urgency of the situation, supplied with equipment, and was then advised to cut all communication ways, telephone lines, cell towers, as well as the complete removal of the only bridge out of the village. Water pipes were sealed off as well. Fog machines were placed around the village to block the site. The operation took place on the night of 25th of November, 2019. In the following days, the villagers started to accommodate to the situation and prepared. A week later, a patrol ship intercepted villagers in a small boat. The villagers attacked by throwing a Molotov cocktail aboard. No further actions were taken as the Navy ship was not ready to fire in time. On different occasions, the soldiers patrolling the river got into verbal fights with village inhabitants, 2 of these ending in gunshots being fired. Traces of tank bullets were found on a destroyed house in the village, although the army vehemently denies firing such. After New Year's Eve, a barn in the village was set on fire by MAD special soldiers to cut off electric power by solar panels on the barn's roof. The operation was unsuccessful, as parts of the solar panels survived the fire due to rain setting in. 5 villagers died in the fire. The operation, however, limited food and water supplies to the inhabitants to starve them on purpose. Content 2. Current situation. As of 29th of January 2020, the current situation is as follows. Villagers try to contact the outer world in the night of 21st of January by using helium gas to blow up black balloons and send them flying from the cell tower. They hoped that the balloons would not be seen by the army due to heavy clouds that night. Different army snipers on duty in the woods reported various shiny black objects rising upwards from the tower in different intervals. To examine, they shot one of them as it was passing over the location. Further examination of the object revealed that it was a small helium-filled balloon with a small cardboard box painted in black underneath. The box contained a drawn map with the location of the village in it, as well as a short description of the situation on paper, followed by the villagers asking for help. The sniper informed Army headquarters, as well as Europol, who immediately requested Germans living in a radius of 50 kilometers around the village to not pick up any black balloons they find, and to call the police as soon as possible. 9 balloons were found by citizens, and are now in possession of European Union Intelligence Analysis Service and Federal Intelligence Service of Germany. In order to stop any more balloons to be launched, snipers were brought to position around the village. An army headquarters used a megaphone and gave the villagers 2 minutes to surrender. The villagers launched 2 more balloons before the snipers were commanded to fire at the top of the tower. Snipers reported at least 1, but at most 3 villagers falling or jumping from the tower. Headquarters mobilized all available soldiers and decided to launch an attack. The first group of soldiers was deployed at 22:46 hours, 29th of January. Villagers left their home and got together in the middle of the village. Then, the soldiers opened fire. The villagers hid in surrounding houses and fired back using firearms and pistols they had left, as well as primitively made bows and arrows. Our thoughts and prayers are with the families of the 19 soldiers that lost their lives, trying to protect our country and the EU. As the villagers started running out of ammo, they started to throw empty food cans. Around that time, 4 people from the cell tower arrived in the village. One of them was immediately killed by gunfire. The remaining threw canisters of gasoline that was on fire. Upon realizing they could not win, at least 5 inhabitants of the village committed suicide using their pistol or by stabbing themselves with an arrow. The remaining total of 17 villagers was captured and immediately deported to European Union Intelligence Analysis Service and then to Europol jail. Inspecting the village, soldiers found a radio station and destroyed it completely. No survivors were found. The captured villagers were strongly influenced by the monster and slowly losing their mind while being in jail. Content 3. Actions to take. To protect the Constitution of Germany and to ensure safety throughout the EU, the village of Oberfeld is going to be completely destroyed, and the habitat of the beast will be locked down and patrolled by the army frequently. The 17 villagers that were captured will be executed or deported. Such action has to be taken so that the villagers cannot spread word about what happened, and because we have currently no way of knowing who is infected and who is not. Based on the power of the radio station, as well as the station lock, there will be a search for the radio station that received the news from the village. Its owner is going to be missing under mysterious circumstances. Content 4. Media related. As the news were spread and the black balloons were found, the media started doing some research. It was decided in various meetings to tell local media that a fire in the barn was started by short circuits in the solar panels due to heavy rainfall. The fire quickly reached the rest of the village, with most of it burned down. The locals tried to escape by swimming or using boats, but drowned as a freight ship passing by made their boat tip and pulled them on the water. At least half of the locals were killed in the fire because of exploded diesel tanks. Research says that there are no survivors, and the corpses were removed. The village is currently being prepared to provide proof for the media by burning more houses down and spreading diesel near the tanks. Media will be let in about 3 days. Currently, they are not allowed in because Europol is removing the corpses. Content 5. Other. A list of the killed soldiers can be found in the European Union Intelligence Analysis Service intranet. Lieutenant H. Schoen is going to be awarded with a medal because of his quick thinking after discovering the black balloons. This file has, under all circumstances, to be kept top secret. If any of the information in this document reaches the public, the government may collapse. P.S. I am risking my life posting this after my friend died in the village. But hey, they are after me already. So, I will most likely die. Goodbye.